法は80。無勢なれど対馬の民を守らねばならない。今日俺はこの命を捨てる。船が海を覆っている。
死を恐れるな。飲み込まれるぞ。習わし武勇誉れ、それが我らが道だ。我らこそ島の勇士。
Brought to you from the great developers of the infamous series, Sucker Punch has finally brought us Ghost of Tsushima. We're here, we got it, we got our hands on it, and it's amazing. And much like everybody else in the gaming universe right now, I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm absolutely loving this samurai epic. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some issues, but everything Sucker Punch has done has overcome all of those issues. Ghost of Tsushima is a samurai epic that takes place on the island of Tsushima during a Mongol invasion. We're already starting off with some pretty crazy stuff. This game is so gorgeous. These beautiful vistas and environments that they create for you to roam around in as the samurai hero Jin are breathtaking. There's literally nothing else I could say about it. Every single place I've been to in this game is so colorful and lively. And yes, I know a lot of people are playing on the Kurosawa filter, but I thought that it would do it injustice. I will eventually go through and play it later on, but that's neither here or there. Sucker Punch has done something that was previously unthinkable. Now, the graphics have taken a step back in terms of the PS4 only because of the release of The Last of Us 2. Now, comparing these games side by side, The Last of Us 2 clearly has an edge up in most graphical and animated areas, but the amount of detail that they have put into everything in this world is phenomenal. The forests look amazing. One particular place I could think of is called the Golden Forest. It's just a bunch of huge trees with these golden leaves falling all over the place, and as you walk they get kicked up behind you, and it's just gorgeous. I currently have Jin wearing his nice little samurai armor given to him by Lady Masako, and he is wearing a straw hat because he looks like a badass that way. And you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this game. You can create any type of Jin that you want. You can make him a Ronin, a Shogun, a Samurai, anything, any of that stuff. And it's amazing what they allow you to do. The more impressive part of this game comes with the combat. Now, I know a lot of people were expecting more Dark Souls type stuff. They were thinking it was definitely going to have this high learning curve, and there is a learning curve to be had in this game. It's just not as high as any of those other games. The combat is a little different, where it can be methodical and requires a ton of patience and some strategy, and it can immediately switch over to being brutal, fast-paced combat, and you're being bum-rushed by 10 guys. The more impressive thing that I found in this game is if you approach a group of enemies, and let's say 3 of those enemies are the same types of enemies. They have sword and board. They're just running with a shield and a sword the whole time. Each of these guys, I have noticed, are attacking you in a different manner. They're attacking you from different angles with different ways. Some may come with a shield rush, some of them may come just slashing straight out of the gate, and others may take the patient approach that you seem to be taking in this game, which I do recommend, because being patient and waiting on your enemy to attack and kind of using their energy against them in the old-fashioned Ip Man Wing Chun styles of fighting, it's really amazing what they've accomplished. There's various types of enemies: spears, swords and shields, bows and arrows, and then there's the brutes that come at you with giant hammers or giant spears or massive blades or axes, and it's just incredible. Along in that combat world exists different little mini bosses across the land. Now, while you're exploring this wide open landscape of Tsushima, you'll come across a bunch of places that have been taken over by Mongols, and they're trying to set up posts and different tribes. They are just trying to control the people of Tsushima. And as you break in to try and save these people or liberate these towns, you will eventually come to a sort of boss fight. And each of these boss fights have been different. Some of them hone in on the boss itself and give you a very traditional boss fight. And those can be challenging in certain ways because most of them I've come across have had a lot of unblockable attacks, or when you attack them, they instantly retaliate. Other times you'll come across just leaders of groups, and they are basically trumped up enemies. They're wearing the best armor, sometimes carrying 2 swords, or again wielding a shield and a sword, and they come at you very aggressively. I haven't played any passive leaders yet. I haven't had the chance to fight any of them. They've all kind of rushed into the fray, and I've chopped them down pretty quickly. But the fact that Sucker Punch took the time out to make all these different varying enemies in this wild landscape is amazing. They've done so much with, frankly, so little. They took the time to make every approach very detailed and very meticulously thought out. Everything about the combat and the encounters screams greatness in this game. It's very fun to play as Jin and to either bum rush these people or take them apart, sneak around. I just recently unlocked the smoke bomb, which is amazing, and it's really fun to get an enemy group all crazy, rush them out. I kind of just run into a place, make sure they all come out, and then I smoke bomb them to see what I'm working with and just dip out, and I'm gone. And then I jump up on a roof somewhere and I pick them off one by one, or I start a massive fight, which is always fun to do as well. In terms of the actual world itself, this game again does something pretty unique and special. Something I would put up there with the Elder Scrolls series or the Witcher series, where you can go exploring and do whatever you want in any order and come across all of these towns and people that exist inside this very real world. Now, what they do that brings that comparison is these side quests that they have allow for these NPCs to have their own existence, to have their own life, and they show you how these people they may not be samurais, and they may not even be fighters, but they are a part of this world, and they are people, and they do have their own stories. And Sucker Punch does such a great job of taking tiny, insignificant characters and giving them meaning across this land. Now, the main quest itself is sort of akin to Mass Effect 2. You have to build up this team to kind of save the world, but in this situation, it is to save Tsushima and to save Jin's uncle. That is the whole crux of this game. And it's amazing how they make you do it. You go around and meet these different lords and these different senseis, and you go through these tales, which from what I can understand from one part of them, some of them are a 9-part process, which is very, very well thought out. It's so in-depth, and I love the lengths they go to kind of create this bond between Jin and any of the other masters of the land. You continue through these tales as Jin, and you learn so much about all the masters. You learn everything about their lives and their family, some of their students, and the horrors that have been set upon them by the invading Mongol army. This adds yet another layer of depth to this game. This invasion feels very real. There's survivor camps laden throughout the land. There's people trying to escape Mongols that you'll randomly encounter. There's so many things that happen in this game, and at the same time, the beautiful part is there's other times where nothing happens, and that's perfectly fine. For example, I entered a town. It is called Brown River Gorge, and this was one of the more exciting parts of this game for me. And I know people are going to question that a lot, but hear me out. They bring you into this town. It looks like it's just been attacked and looted by Mongols. So, I'm expecting a pretty substantial force of Mongols to attack me. The town's pretty big and has a master's dojo on top of it. So, there's going to be a lot of people around. They throw on the tense music. I start sneaking my way through each house trying to collect stuff. Nothing. I find nothing. But the entire time, I had this moment of dread and tension throughout this entire village, yet not a single enemy encounter while I'm going around and collecting supplies like a madman. Most people would think, wow, that's kind of lazy for the developers not to put anyone in there, but I disagree. I think it built up all these emotions that you've been shown within the first part of the game, only to come to Brown River Gorge and to find just death and destruction, and the Mongols have clearly cleared this place out and moved on to the next town. It gives this sense of realism that there's a timetable for this, that everything is happening very quickly, and you can't save everyone. You're trying to, but you can't. And that really shows a level of storytelling in games that I've wanted to see for a while. And I know there's a few other examples anyone could probably bring up for that, but it really hit me in Ghost of Tsushima, because at no point did I think, man, is there nobody here? Is this just an empty level? Did I come here at the wrong time? No, quite the contrary. The entire time I was waiting for the encounter. I was scared, and I was seeing dead bodies strewn about, houses destroyed, places lit on fire, and there was nobody around. It was done. This town of Brown River Gorge was gone. And that is the beauty of Ghost of Tsushima. It does something that other games are somewhat afraid to do, or may not even approach. Yes, there's empty cities in The Last of Us, but this is 25 years after an apocalyptic event. It's not taking place during a current invasion, which really speaks volumes. So far, Ghost of Tsushima has been one of my favorite games of this year, and I've played a ton of games this year. I even caught up on some of my backlog. But this game has a special feeling. Now, it may be that it speaks to me on a personal level because I love these samurai epics, I love Kurosawa films, and it could just be me. But with the combination of the beautiful landscape, the NPCs who are very detailed and story oriented and have real character behind them, the fact that you get to run around with your horse from village to village, kind of interacting with these people and understanding what their struggle is during this invasion. Not everybody has the same story. Not everybody is so fortunate or so unfortunate as the last people you spoke to. That is the greatness of Ghost of Tsushima. Being able to take this cataclysmic event of a Mongol invasion, something these people never thought would happen to them, and being able to sprout all these tiny experiences and stories all around you while allowing the world to continue growing. Some places like the hot springs are completely untouched, but other places like Brown River Gorge are completely cut through and decimated. And that's what you see all across this land. There are glimmers of hope and there are glimmers of dread. And in Ghost of Tsushima, both are very plenty.